Cape has just released Arc 8 Chapter 14, and this video will be a summary of the chapter. I highly recommend you check out my Arc 8 Chapter 13 summary. Anyways, let's begin. Priscilla and Yuna were missing. Emilia's words brought silence to the carriage. Subaru wonders if this is why Tanza looked gloomy. Vincent states that Yuna's loss may be significant, however they cannot treat her differently than other people. Subaru argues with Abel, mentioning Priscilla since obviously they have a connection together, and maybe the reason why Vincent was sad was not only for Chisha but due to Priscilla's disappearance also. Goz, however, jumps in, telling Subaru to not speak rudely to the Emperor. Subaru tried to argue and Goz got mad, but Abel just waved his hand and Goz stopped. Emilia calmed Subaru down, stating that both Yuna and Priscilla are the same, and that Yuna's soul marriage technique has not worn off on Tanza, so she's just missing and she's not actually dead. We also see that Priscilla has the same technique. The Prime Minister states that Priscilla's handling of the soul marriage technique is mastered, albeit it's only active on the young boy Schult. Subaru asks out loud about Ao. Ao, however, was not found anywhere, and Subaru assumes that Ao is trying to find Priscilla currently. Subaru knows that Ao is really good at survival, but he feels as if he has to blame himself since Ao was there to help him out, and if it wasn't for Ao, Subaru would have died multiple times. We see that Heinkel is also missing, and Subaru gets mad when he remembers who Heinkel is and what he did in the city of Pristella. Either way, Subaru doesn't want him to die, he just doesn't like Heinkel. Otto, however, gathers the attention of everyone, but states that they are from the kingdom. Otto states that they have achieved their goal, and upon reaching the city of Garkla, they can head to Kararagi and then back to Lagunica. Subaru and Emilia were going to talk, but they were told to be quiet by Otto. Ram also agrees. Since they got Subaru and Rem back, there's no real need to stay. Selena Dracoy then asks Roswell, using his fake name of Dudley, if he agrees with everyone else, and he says that he does. After all, they've obtained Subaru, albeit he's a bit smaller, and the girl who was sleeping is now awake. Subaru looks for the others for help, and Subaru looks to Beatrice, but Beatrice agrees with Roswell, saying it's too dangerous. We see that only really Garfiel, Emilia and Subaru would be on the same side, and previously Petra and Frederica also stated that they wanted to leave, so essentially it's just really Emilia and Subaru who are the only two people present who want to stay. Goz, however, thinks that this is a farce and picks up Subaru by the collar, stating that they should leave as it's an imperial matter. Emilia tells Goz to put Subaru down so they can finish their story. Goz, however, states that they don't need charity. However, Emilia actually disagrees, and Goz says, "What?" raising his voice. But Emilia then proceeds to raise her own voice, stating that if it wasn't for her and Priscilla, it would have been a lot worse for Wallachia. Not only that, Selena Dracoy tells everyone that Beatrice was responsible for nullifying the magical cannon shot at the start of the battle. With that, everyone was ganging up on Goz, and Goz backed down and dropped Subaru to the floor. However, Goz stated that the Emilia camp haven't reached a consensus regardless. Otto states that they can flee with everyone, including members of Wallachia if needed. Abel states that Otto has a good proposal, as it will reduce casualties from Wallachia. However, Emilia asks Abel how many people there are in Wallachia, and Abel states around 50 million people live in Wallachia. Hearing this, Subaru states that he refuses to leave until he saves all 50 million people in Wallachia. Otto, who proposed fleeing with as many people as possible, challenges Subaru on this. However, Subaru looks at Roswell for help and states to Roswell that what he says is absolute, and Roswell knows that. Roswell, hearing this, agrees with Subaru's statement and actually agrees with Subaru and states they should actually stay and help. Emilia then pleads with Ram, and Ram actually relents and agrees with Emilia and Subaru. Otto is the only person who disagrees with Subaru, stating that there is no advantage to helping the Emperor, and that there are many risks. Abel then states, what if there was a reward? And the Empire formally requested help from the royal candidates. Goss challenged the Emperor on this, stating that it's unprecedented. But Vincent stated that it's irrelevant, who cares? They cannot be fleeing the capital and leaving the royal capital of Wallachia in the hands of ruffians, before asking Goss if he is an enemy of the Emperor. Goss freezes and reaffirms his loyalty to Vincent Wallachia. With that, the Emilia camp introduced themselves. Emilia, of course, introducing herself as Emilia, one of the royal candidates for Lagunica. Emilia then thrusts out her hand, and Subaru states that he will allow Abel to hold her hand just this once. Abel then shakes Emilia's hand, marking one of the first handshakes between Lagunica and Wallachia and their cooperation. We see Otto is silent amongst the celebrating and isn't really talking to anyone, but Otto then proceeds to sit down and lets off a sigh. We see that Otto knew it would go like this after all. Everything was something he planned for, since he knew that Emilia and Subaru are stubborn and wouldn't change their minds, so he planned for everything alongside Ram and Roswell. Subaru then, hearing this, says he cannot trust the brain team anymore and only trusts the others like Lewis, Flop, Medium, Tanza, and so on and so forth. So yeah, guys, the brain team is Roswell, Otto, and Ram. As everyone stopped talking and began to focus on the matters at hand, loud clapping rung out. In the corner of the room, a slender figure appeared. He appeared in the room and was standing there the whole time, and no one sensed his presence. The man stated that he accidentally clapped when he wasn't supposed to, but he had to after seeing Emilia's effort and the handshake. Goss entered a fighting stance. The man was 2 meters tall, with black fur, with dog-like features. He stood there wearing an elegant kimono. He had a smoking pipe in his mouth, and he was smiling. Emilia then asked who the man was, and the dog man simply replied, "My name is Halibel." And with that, the chapter ends. Wow, I can't believe Tappei actually introduced Halibel, who has only really appeared in If stories, such as Sloth If, and of course, I believe Wrath If, the one with the Purge King. So, wow, Halibel's now in the story, in the Envy route. So I'm wondering, I feel like, because I feel like Cecilus will become an enemy. So that means Halibel will, of course, be the person fighting Cecilus. I feel like, there's no... The only way you can get rid of Cecilus is if someone else strong enough can fight Cecilus. So I feel like, obviously, Halibel is an assassin. The fact that he didn't kill anyone means that he's an ally, if anything. So I'm interested to see what happens here. I feel like this is going to be the hiatus, but we'll see what happens.